Welcome to Blacks in Golf. So our theme for today is exploring Black capital. And what we're going to do is essentially just go through what Black capital is and how it has affected golf, both historically and how it's affecting golf presently. There you'll see like a lot of information about things that, we currently work on in terms of growing the game of golf. Now, just to explain a little bit about All Access Golf, we're essentially a company that, focuses on, three main areas. So our first area is, providing lessons to both children and adults. This would include, professional organizations, professionals, organizations, churches, as well as schools. Then we also have an ongoing oral history project called Golf Griots. And what Golf Griots is, us learning from, our elders and learning about the game of golf, but we're also learning about life as well. And they're telling us their experiences, whether it's, growing up or playing the game of golf, and, giving us advice towards the future. Another component is us learning the Black history within golf, where we're like a real strong component. We're real strong advocates of, learning ourselves, because it coincides so greatly with the game of golf, right? You learn about yourself while you're playing the game. You learn about, different just characteristics that may come about while you're playing the game. So this is what we, focus on as well in terms of, really learning, ourselves. And not to mention, golf can also be a great sport to utilize in order to, build your network. We really started it in February 2020. And from that, really, it's really been, important to, kind of just analyze, where we are in terms of, being Black within the sport of golf. So our first event, this was pre-COVID. We did it at BK9, which is a Black-owned restaurant. And we had discussions just talking about, really creating the narrative for the future. Last year we did Blacks in Golf, which focused on the story of Shady Rest and John Shippen. So we had a panel discussion, and we learned a lot in terms of Shady Rest, which was the first Black country club in the nation, owned and operated country club in the nation, as well as John Shippen, who's the first American-born golf professional. He actually lived upstairs at Shady Rest, and Shady Rest is a very pivotal point in just American culture, because it was so different. So if you go on our YouTube, you can watch Blacks in Golf, the story of Shady Rest and John Shippen, as well as the first one. A lot of information shared, especially concerning the story of Shady Rest and John Shippen. And today we have Blacks in Golf, and we're talking about exploring Black capital. So just to get into it, the first question is, what is Black capital, right? Now, we have a photo here of Marcus Mosiah Garvey, and he was essentially, he was a revolutionary thought leader. He was a philosopher as well as a consultant, and his ideas in the early 1900s, really helped to shape, economic businesses that were catered to, Black people. Now, some of the businesses that he had was the Negro Factories Corporation, UNIA, Black Star Line, and also his influence is still very prominent till this day. With the Negro Factories Corporation, there were laundromats, there were doll factories, and even the doll factories were for children who were black, and the dolls also looked like them. Many different, components. There was also a hat making, company. He really believed in terms of during that time, since America was limiting opportunities for black people, he essentially said, you know what, we can, have this, this base amongst ourselves and be able to, not necessarily depend on, any other, entities that may, be discriminatory towards us. It makes complete sense, what he did. And he even said that black people long to do business with America, but, since they're being shut out, this is what's causing, the independence, which is good, in a way, because it was helping to really establish black people to, have power. Now, the UNIA was another business that Garvey was one of his ideas, and it provided death benefits, small loans, like employment assistance to members of the UNIA. And then we have the Black Star Line. The Black Star Line was essentially Garvey's way of trying to create a pathway for black people to be included in the global shipping economy, right? So we can imagine just how shipping during that time was a very big business, or big industry. And he's just like, hey, in order to have some solid economic footing, we'll create our own shipping company. Now, the Black Star Line, even though there were some troubles that happened, there were, federal informants, a lot of, the businesses that were established, kind of compromised internally because of, the FBI and, things like that, the kind of intelligence programs. But his influence still remains till this day, right? So some of the leaders in which he was able to influence, especially, during the civil rights era, was Malcolm X, Martin Luther King, Kwame Nkrumah, as well as Nelson Mandela. Now, this flag right here is the flag of Ghana, and Kwame Nkrumah was influenced by Garvey, and that black star comes from Marcus Garvey. So even in a flag of a country, you see the effect that Marcus Garvey had. So today we're going to be doing several steps that we could we don't just want to make this another discussion and not actually do anything, right? So the first step would be, currently the family of Marcus Garvey is looking to have him exonerated. So we'll provide the link has been provided. You can sign for the petition to have him exonerated by the White House. And one of the things is that this photo right here actually is from the FBI website, showing that the FBI began investigating Garvey's activities, looking to deport him as an undesirable alien, right? So part of the FBI's mission was to, essentially, discredit him and then have him exiled. And he ended up being, convicted of mail fraud in 1922. So you do the math, that's 100 years till, this was essentially 100 years ago. So one of the interesting things as well is that one of the first hires of the FBI was to infiltrate, Marcus Garvey's, movement, right? So technically, the FBI could say that they've been diverse for 100 years, even though it was to discredit someone who was trying to uplift, essentially like the black, economy or black capital. Now, during the time of Marcus Garvey movement, the Black nationalist movement went from 1919 to 1926, and it was really headquartered in Harlem. So during that time, Shady Rest was formed. So that was the year 1921. So we did reference last year's event, Blacks in Golf, which was very educational to think about what was going on during the time that that Shady Rest was formed, which is 1921. Black investors pooled their money together in order to like form the Shady Rest, right? I'm not saying that. One thing I'm not saying is that this was necessarily Garvey's idea, but the influence that Garvey had did promote self-sufficiency, right? So we see Shady Rest being formed, and then after Garvey was exiled out of the U.S. This was in 1927, in which he was exiled. John Shippen, who was the first American born golf professional, went to Shady Rest in 1931. Now, John Shippen, there's a lot of history that we're able to know about John Shippen because of the Simmons and like the work that they have done in terms of keeping the Shippen name remembered, right? And we currently have a YouTube video, and it's it's called it's one of the it's part of the Golf Grill series, and it's called institutionalized, where we sit down with Thurman Simmons and we learn about the work that he's done towards keeping John Shippen's name alive. Now, looking at the work that the Simmons have done, they focused on John Shippen's life. They started the John Shippen Youth Golf Academy. They also located Shippen's gravesite, and then put a tombstone on it. Right now, there's a tournament called the John Shippen Invitational. And then one of the interesting things that was able to learn was that Thurman, Mr. Simmons, he studied under Dr. John Henry Clark, which is very interesting because of Clark's influence in terms of self-awareness and also learning about African civilizations. Very influential in terms of just the information being out there. And another interesting thing is that despite the major accomplishments, they've also been trying to get a stamp recognized by the United States Postal Service. So they've attempted 3 times, and currently they're attempting again. And given that we know the history about John Shippen, one of the things that Mr. Thurman said is that stamps that are flowers, right? In the sense of they would put a flower on a stamp, right? But in terms of really honoring John Shippen and him being the first, they're still being denied. So the next step is to, institutionalize, right? And this is, what he was saying. He was saying, when you try and like capture history, he said, to institutionalize it, right? So the link has been provided that shows, or that could lead you to the link so that you could also sign the petition for John Shippen to be recognized by the U.S. Postal Service, and a stamp could be issued out, because if it wasn't for the contributions that the Simmons have made, we really would not have known about John Shippen. Now, so now we look at what does Black capital institutions look like, and then also in the post George Floyd world, given COVID, and then seeing the horrific murder of George Floyd, making pledges about really standing up for change, and the injustices that Black people do face. But how many of it has been really followed up on, and that still kind of remains to be seen. But the numbers don't necessarily look good, as most of it has been kind of just relegated to talk, right? So now when we look at we had to even look at how are we structuring all access golf, and how are we structuring ourselves so that we can at least be able to contribute more in terms of overall the Black capital, right? So coming up in April, there'll be an episode in which we interview a golf griot. And one of the things that we discover is, how Black capital really played a part in the self-sufficiency within the community, right? And this came from, actually Augusta National, and, from the jobs that were provided, how did that affect the neighborhood? And how did that also affect businesses, right? So, currently, in terms of, all access golf, structure, we really try and look at ways in which, we're trying to essentially keep our money as well as, our influence, kind of circulated. And that, kind of helps to, that trickles down into other things. So if we're able to, have our money circulate within, the neighborhoods in which, we help to grow the game, that also helps, the community as a whole, right? And if the community as a whole is being essentially, if the money is being circulated within our neighborhoods, that also helps in terms of Black capital, right? So more circulation within our communities means more economic power, right? Now, in terms of partnerships, when it comes to any partners who may want to partner with all access golf, we're going to look at ways in which the money not only comes to us, but also stays within the neighborhood as well, right? Because we have to make sure that our money stays within the neighborhood, or at least be able to to circulate and not leave our communities so quickly as they do currently. So this in turn we feel helps to, as the money is circulated more, we can also have, greater opportunity to, continue teaching, golf within our neighborhoods. So that said, I'm going to introduce our distinguished panel. So I'll just go through, everyone's, credentials. So Dr. Kimberly Whitehead, she's the Senior Vice President for Strategy and Chief of Staff at Medgar Evers College located in Brooklyn. And she's also the Brooklyn Recovery Corps Initiative co-lead. Dr. Whitehead currently serves as the VP of Medgar Evers College. Her responsibilities include communication and marketing, college advancement, strategic partnerships, and college strategic planning efforts. She also serves as the accreditation liaison officer and the Brooklyn Recovery Corps Initiative co-lead. As a senior confidential advisor to the president, she manages complex daily operations of the president's office. Now, Winston Gordon works diligently at Columbia University as an administrative and undergraduate coordinator for the sociology department and academic affairs and finance. He is extremely driven, optimistic, and ambitious in spirit. Winston owns and operates Trey Brickstone, an NYC MBE certified community management firm. Through his partnerships, he has developed the role of finance advisor with Community Capital Funding Group, a company that provides national funding for resident and commercial properties. And lastly, but not least, we have Stephanie, who is a senior manager of small business and workforce development at United Way, New York. She holds a master's in social work, majoring in community organizing and planning and development from the Silberman School of Social Work. Prior to joining the United Way of New York City, Stephanie was a senior community liaison for the New York City Council, as well as outreach liaison for New York City Charter Revision Commission. So help me welcome everyone to the panel. All right. So I just want to start off and just ask Dr. Whitehead, can you talk about what the BRC is?
Sure. Thank you so much for having me this evening. Are you able to hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you so much for having me this evening. I'm really delighted to be here and amongst such esteemed colleagues. I do have a presentation, just a short one that kind of gives an overview of what the BRC is. So as he mentioned, I'm Kimberly Whitehead. I'm the Senior Vice President for Strategy at Medgar Evers College, and I'm the co-lead on our Brooklyn Recovery Corps initiative. But before I talk about the BRC, I want to kind of give some context and talk a little bit about Medgar Evers College. It is a senior college of the University of New York of CUNY. It is a predominantly Black college located in central Brooklyn. As Kelly mentioned, we have approximately 3,300 students from diverse backgrounds. Our current president is Dr. Petition Ramsey. She is the sixth president of Medgar Evers College and the first woman to lead that great institution. And she began her tenure in March of 2021. The president's vision for Medgar Evers College, which is a college named for civil rights icon Medgar Wiley Evers, is that Medgar Evers College becomes a model for social justice, not only nationally, but also internationally. And so as an institution that is built on the community and that has provided educational opportunities for the citizens of Central Brooklyn and beyond since 1970, the president has selected as her theme or mantra the mnemonic access, which stands for accountability, continuous improvement, community engagement, equity, sustainability, and the foundation is student success because we are laser focused on student success at Medgar Evers College. Our college was recently ranked among the top public colleges in the Northern region by U.S. News and World Report in their 2021 rankings. Additionally, we are ranked number 22, 23 for top public schools, 38 through 49 across all regional colleges in the North, and 45 as a top performer in social mobility, which is really very important and relevant to this conversation. Our public administration program is ranked 8th among the colleges above Rutgers University. And our college is ranked 35th nationwide in colleges that produce the most economic mobility for its students by Third World Organization. Just to kind of give you a little bit of information about our college. And so the Brooklyn Recovery Corps is an experiential learning opportunity for students at Medgar Evers College who are sophomores, juniors, and seniors. And this initiative is supported by the Juneteenth Economic Recovery Plan, the funds from that, and which was announced by former Mayor Bill de Blasio on Juneteenth last year. And so for Medgar Evers, there are two components of the funding that we received from the city of New York in the amount of $20.4 million. One is our CHAMPS program, which is a scholarship program for all students. And I encourage you, if you are a current student at Medgar Evers College, or if you're thinking about attending Medgar Evers College, these are funds that are available to you. And the information is on our website, and I have the URL at the end of this presentation. But the other was the Brooklyn Recovery Corps, which is modeled in part after the Bronx Recovery Corps, but also the focus really is, the other part of the model is looking at complex challenges through a grand challenges model. And so this program provides paid internship for our students. It fosters partnership engagement, which I'll talk a little about. And Kelly is one of our great partners. Provides learning opportunities and workshops and webinars for our students, and it promotes cultural and artistic exposure, which is really very important for us because we want the students to have a meaningful experience, and we also want the people who have engaged with us to also be benefactors of some of the great things that our students have to offer. There are 4 programmatic themes that we focus on. For our program, those are housing and food insecurity, civic and community engagement, social justice and equity, and sustainability. So most of the work or the projects in which the students are engaged with our partners fall under one of these themes. And the overall goal of the program really is to spur economic growth and recovery among small business and nonprofit organizations. And so that is the focus of the partners with which we engage. And so our program features writing for success journaling experiences for our students. We have monthly workshops and seminars, our theory to practice professional learning opportunities. So this is a non-credit academic internship program because we pay the interns. And then a living classroom research project where they're out in the field with our various partners. And so to date, we have 32 students and it's growing. We recruit students on a rolling basis, because the students can participate throughout the entire semester, fall and spring, as well as the summer, but they don't have to join at the beginning of the semester. In order to participate in the program, the student must be a degree-seeking student, have completed 30 credits or more towards a MEC degree, be a sophomore, junior, or senior, and have a minimum 2.5 grade point average or higher. And so we've been very fortunate to engage or to solicit and recruit a number of partners across the gamut. And our first partner was the Office of Congresswoman Yvette Clarke, and you see her pictured here with one of our students, Brian Garrett. All Access Golf LLC, Impact Brooklyn, Arcturus Community Endeavors, Pitkin Avenue District Management Association, Dream Foundation, and Block Power. And the top 5 were some of our original partners And we are moving to forming an advisory group, and those original partners are invited to participate. Our other partners, here's the list here. And so we're up to 20 partners, and we expect to have more because we are in the process of finalizing an MOU with Together We Thrive, and Stephanie's here because she can talk a little bit about that more. But and they have been tremendous partners, and so we look forward to adding small businesses and nonprofits through that venue as well. And so I'll just stop there with my overview. And I just want to thank you again for the opportunity to talk about the Brooklyn Recovery Corps. We feel this is a great opportunity for our students at Medgar Evers College to not only participate and get real experience towards their career advancement, but also we are really helping them to hone their essential skills, which will be very important as they move through their career journey. So thank you again for the opportunity, and I'll stop sharing.
Kelly, we can't hear you.
Thank you, Dr. Whitehead, for just providing some insight into the program. Definitely, if you are in the Brooklyn area, it's specific within the Brooklyn area, correct?
That is correct. We target nonprofits and small businesses in the Brooklyn area, but we can expand our reach, and we do have an application process at the link that I mentioned. If you just go to the university, the college's website, or you type in Brooklyn Recovery Corps at Medgar Evers College, you'll come to the landing page that has the application information, both for our students and for partners. And so we haven't turned anyone down, and we consider all applications that come to us, regardless of the location of the business or small profit organization, nonprofit organization.
Cool, great. Now, Stephanie, what are ways in which communities can develop economically?
Oh, that's a large question. I think, well, first of all, thank you so much for this invitation, and hello, everyone. And thank you so much, everyone, for joining this evening. It's been really enlightening, as always, to learn about Blacks in Golf and how we can continue that tradition, and why it's important to continue that tradition. In terms of community economic development, I mean, again, it's a huge question. There's a bunch of different ways one can answer that. I think if you're coming at it from the small business sector, and particularly from the Black small business sector, one of the things that I see our businesses need quite often is access to capital. And that's a huge barrier. I think historically there have been a lot of systemic barriers from small and medium-sized Black-owned businesses from achieving success because of access to loans and access to capital, access to credit that would allow for our businesses to be successful from the onset. So I think that there's this historic acknowledgement. I also think that there needs to be buy-in from the whole community. I think maybe you had mentioned it earlier about kind of keeping dollars within the Black community. I think that's becoming more and more of a popular idea for people. People are consciously saying, not just during Black History Month, but all year round, I want to buy Black. I think more people are looking around their homes, looking at the products that they are using on a frequent basis, saying to themselves, well, what company am I purchasing these items from? Who's actually benefiting? Where are the profits going? And I think, it starts with an individual by asking critical questions. I think it starts with institutions realizing that there's a systemic, racially based issue that needs to be addressed. I think it starts, I think it also continues with people just acknowledging I think what's in our blood. I think that sense of entrepreneurship is within our blood, and just, I think realizing that and going forward. I think one of the things, that's a bunch of different things, but I'm going to talk a little bit about Together We Thrive, but it's really to tie in. So Together We Thrive is an initiative of the United Way. And what it really is here to do is to try to support small and medium-sized Black-owned businesses in New York City to recover post-pandemic. Because I think what many of us are aware of is that the pandemic really just magnified the injustices that most of us knew were occurring economically to small businesses. And so what we try to do through access to capital, through technical assistance, because I think one of the other things that the pandemic showed us is that if you don't have a space online, do you exist and how do people access you? Of course, depending upon what your business is, making sure you have a digital imprint is extremely important. So we have access to capital, technical assistance, becoming MWBE certified, and even beyond that, knowing how to acquire some of the contracts from city, state, or federal as MWBE. We also offer mentorship and coaching so that folks can kind of have that thought partner on how do I scale up, or should I scale up, or should I go into a business with someone else in my community, or should I start my own business? So those kinds of critical questions are what the mentorship component offers. In addition, we have peer-to-peer mentorship, because how many times have people thought to myself, I can't do this, or, I just don't have it. And then they have that thought partner who is also their peer who says, I was in that situation 6 months ago. Here's a program I used. Here's a resource I leaned into. Here's a program I participated in, like Brooklyn Recovery Court, where I received the support and am able to grow my business. So those are some of the things that Together We Thrive offers. Those are some of the tools I think communities need in order to become more, I think, resourceful and more abundant economically. It was a huge question, but I tried to.
Well, yeah. So thank you for providing that insight. Winston, as a small business, can you talk about the WMBE certification and how you were able to attain it?
Yeah, absolutely. First, I just want to thank you and your team for having me as a guest on this very highly esteemed panel. I also want to say that I have bias towards Medgar Evers, as I'm a product of the high school and the college program Smart Scholars. So there's a little bit of bias there. But I will say that this conversation is extremely important as we explore Black capital. And I'm sure many PhDs such as Dr. Claude Anderson, I'm sure you guys can see it, but Powernomics, this is a very, very interesting book that I would definitely recommend people getting into, white or Black, as they explore Black capital, because it's the way that you can understand what needs to happen and the urgency of the community, right? So the first thing I want to say about the MWBE is that, 33% of the city's budget is dedicated to Black-owned companies, right? And the city's budget is upwards of about $89 billion right now. And I would also say that out of that 33%, only about 2%, maybe 3% are actually Black-owned companies that have contracts or that have obtained their MWBE as well. So there's a knowledge gap and there's an opportunity gap. And when I saw that, immediately I knew how important it was to get certified. And from there, I got certified. And I've been also helping and coaching and consulting other companies get certified as well. And I think that that's really important, not just breaking through these barriers of entry, but also making sure that other people have the opportunity and that others can come along for the ride, because it is an institution that we have to break into. And in terms of break into, I mean, we have to know what we're doing while we're there, and we have to create scalable businesses. And there's a lot of emotional aspects that we have to fight right before getting into that process. But once we fight through that, we can do it together, and we'll be much stronger as we come through as a collective to enter into agencies, to enter into these conversations. It's not easy when you do it on your own. And so I'd say that as I got help from another Black-owned company, right? They helped consult me and coach me through the process. I made sure that I also got as far as right now, I have at least 7 companies that have gotten certified through our company. And so like, I feel like, and this is all within a span of COVID, right? Like to be transparent, like I completely registered my company as of 2019. I was doing business since 2017. And so throughout COVID, I made it my duty to make sure that I bring people along with us as we can expand capital and as we can grow our businesses and scale. I also have, sorry going off, but I also have done a lot of community engagement work, right? Like, so Juneteenth, that was very important. And so a colleague of mine, we petitioned right before this whole thing even happened, right? Like June 2020, maybe May 2020, we petitioned for Juneteenth to be recognized as a federal holiday. A few weeks later, it was recognized in Virginia, then it was recognized in New York. And so we felt accomplished there, but we still wanted the federal holiday. So we had a demonstration. We had some local electeds show up to Prospect Park. We had food, we had event, like we had music. You know, it was like a place for people to gather and feel comfortable having the conversation about liberating Black people and Black businesses and making sure we focus on the economic side of things. And so we've done that twice now. So like, I would definitely be interested in partnering with Medgar Evers, of course. But we have like done some very impactful things, and people have like gotten some awareness behind that. And that's just the nature of my company, right? Making sure that our ecosystem is strong and our ecosystem goes to the levels and the heights that our, you know, ancestors such as Marcus Garvey and, you know, those like John Shippen, they would have wanted us to be in these rooms, be in these conversations. Kelly can attest to, we were at Original T Golf Classic. And, we were at a table and like these Black professionals, they were like, you know, one of my clients has about 20 million liquid in his room and doesn't know what to do with it, right? And so like, those are the conversations that we'd like to enter, and we'd like to make sure that we're doing that. And so through the pandemic, not only do I have a background in accounting, as you know, but I also started getting my policy degree. And so I'm now getting my MPA from John Jay College, another CUNY. And so I'm doing that to align the systems and to align policy knowledge with finance and ensure that we, you know, ask for these line item budgets to be presented to us and that we can effectively get into these spaces.
All right. So thank you, Winston. Thanks for the insight. And that's real powerful that you were able to, you know, really influence change, especially in terms of Juneteenth. Now, Dr. Whitehead, can you talk about the Juneteenth grant from the city?
It was announced last Juneteenth that the former mayor, Bill de Blasio, was making a commitment to kind of closing the racial wealth gap by providing these funds. And so that's why Medgar Evers College was able to acquire $20 million from that fund for our CHAMPS program, which I mentioned is a scholarship program, and for the Brooklyn Recovery Corps. So through those efforts for CHAMP, we have a capacity over the next 3 to 4 years to support 1,000 students. And for the Brooklyn Recovery Corps, we have the capacity to support about 750 students through internship opportunities, which we hope will lead to permanent positions for them. Maybe not with the agencies that they're placed with now, but I think the ability to be able to garner new skills and to demonstrate that they have the proficiency to do the work will help them with their career placement. But also, as I mentioned, being able to hone their essential skills is definitely gives them a competitive edge in the global economy, but also some of the things that kind of the cultural activities that we are trying to engage them in, we also think will kind of push the needle for them. And since we're on here with you, and this is about Blacks in Golf, one of the things that we're planning to do with Kelly and some other collaborators is to host a golf clinic for our students who are participating in the BRC. And I have just a little history with golf. I'm not a golfer. However, I did work at a HBCU, the only HBCU that has a golf PGA management program in this country. And I will not name said institution, but it was there that I really got a kind of firsthand look at how golf can really empower students and how it can really assist them in not only being at the table, but also being on the course, right? Because we know that negotiations happen at the table, but they also happen on the golf course. And so if you're not able to participate, as someone said earlier this week, you're sitting at the registration table, or you can end up being the caddy. And so we think this is there are a lot of different skills they can learn from the game of golf, but I think it gives them a competitive edge when they actually enter the career field as well. And so we want to expose our students to this sport because it's really about access for us, right? I think traditionally the notion has been that golf is not a sport for Black people and it is a sport of the affluent. And however, we're trying to break some barriers here, and kudos to Kelly, especially for the work that he's doing in that space. And we had a great conversation like with one of our collaborators earlier this week, and they were really engaged in the golf discussion. But we think this is a great way to further expose our students and prepare them to be more competitive when they graduate with a degree from Medgar Evers College.
Thank you, Dr. Whitehead. Yes, definitely looking forward to the golf clinic. So, Winston, can you talk about and so after this, we'll open up so you can actually put any questions you may have, in the chat. Winston, can you talk about your experience when it comes to, contract opportunities?
Yes, absolutely. So as far as contracts, right, there's most contracts within the government agencies, they are public knowledge. And so we can go on to checkbooks and we can, type in companies and see what contracts they've obtained, right? And so we have the opportunity and we've been privileged enough to see the types of contracts that have already been administered. And so when we go into the contract space and we try to get these contracts from government agencies, whether we have previous private experience or just, we're just coming in, we want to have all the knowledge and know exactly what we're talking about and make sure that, all of our NICE codes, which is codes that describe what our business does, all of those are in order, and making sure that we're, efficient going into the room. And so we've been able to help companies on a leadership perspective see, hey, you have this capacity to do a contract of, say, $2,000 or even $500, right? And so we want to start small so that way people can actually feel comfortable and feel confident in their business acumen and not go in over their head. However, we know that there is a mandatory purchase of $500,000. And so in order to collaborate, that's the best strategy that we've effectively used to obtain a few contracts, right? And so we've helped companies get contracts that have had the capacity. But we do know that we're still fighting a very uphill battle in terms of how we can get these contracts. Just recently, I was working on a contract with a colleague of mine from the Gentleman's Factory. And so we were looking and we noticed, how are we going to get these contracts? There are some companies that have $200 million in contracts from one agency, right? And so that's like, very, very weird to us. And so we have to fight these types of barriers of people that have the private relationships behind the scenes beforehand. And so that's something that we want to be very, very aware of going into the contracting space, and understand that, yes, it is a relationship-based conversation, but we also know that we have to be effective, right? And so we have to make sure, we start small and then we go in for the $500,000 purchase. But what I will say about that is that we noticed that there were contracts, $500,000, that were given to companies that weren't us, right? They didn't look like black and brown people. Immediately they were given to, I'd like to say Caucasian, right? Caucasian women. And that's something that's very, very disheartening for us, because we're the real minorities, right? And so we want to make sure that we're actually getting what was, presented to us, right? There's a reason why we're skipping the bid process and going to the $500,000 purchase. And that's because we need access to capital. And so what our company would like to do is to continue to streamline that process and leverage our relationships and leverage the capacity that we have within the community. This way, we can be the ones with the $500,000 purchase and not just a quote unquote shell company, right? Because that's essentially what it is. We know what it is, right? And so those people have access to it. And now we're not asking to get access to it. We're just building relationships, making sure our ecosystem is strong and making sure our capacity is there. And so that way we are an efficient company that goes in, and an efficient collective that goes in and demands the contracts that we deserve as a community.
Sounds good. Thank you, Vincent, for your answer. Dr. Whitehead, can you talk about how can Black businesses utilize Medgar Evers College?
I'm sure. One of the areas of my oversight is really building strategic partnerships. So the college is open for business, I'll say that. And so each week we have a series of meetings with potential partners, as well as continuing and legacy partners, looking at ways in which we could collaborate on projects internally, as well as through external funding opportunities. So the best way to partner with Medgar Evers College is to reach out to us. You can reach out specifically to me if you want to do business with Medgar Evers College. If you want to be a BRC partner, like I mentioned earlier, there is an application process, but feel free to contact me about that too, and I can send more information. And what I will do is I will, provide my email in the chat, and I hope, so that everyone can see it, and then you can contact me if you're interested in becoming a partner with Medgar Evers College. We have a wealth of expertise through our 4 colleges and our academic programs, as well as our 4 academic centers. And so we welcome opportunities for collaboration because we have a wealth of experience and knowledge at our college.
Thank you for your response. Well, so Winston, can you talk about the services that you provide with Trey Brickstone Consulting?
Absolutely, thank you. So effectively, right now we're providing financial literacy programs. We're providing leadership coaching. And we go off of our 4 pillars, right? And so that's leadership, reconciliation, growth, community, and the foundational principle, which is the 5th one. We call it the silent principle, which is capital, right? And so we use our programs now to teach the executive in business and teach the executive in Fortune 500 companies, government agencies as well, and coach them on training techniques and tools that they can tangibly use. And so we have multiple programs We also have a business credit program that we partnered with Credit Suisse, in effectively allowing black owned businesses to have access to different amounts of capital, different amounts of credit, right? Business credit with their Duns and Bradstreet, ensuring that, their business is registered at a licensed business address in a business district, not just your home. That's also very important if you're looking to do real business and have opportunities with grants and things of that nature. So that's a little bit about our business program. We also connect people to residential and commercial funding through our partnerships and through our company. We get businesses registered and certified in terms of the MWBE and MBE process. And so that's one of our programs, our premier programs. And we go into schools, right? And we do coaching and training sessions and making sure they're impactful tools. And that you get like a full bird's eye view of the business, right? And we try to be very transparent about our team, our capacity, and what we can handle in the moment. I'd also like to say that we are currently working on an app, and I don't want to give too much IP away, but we're working on an app that allows us to be a lot more scalable, and allows us to have those monotonous processes broken down, but also leveraging our relationships and making sure that we have an intelligence platform that people can come to, because I think that's the key, right? Like, we're not really taught that, just start a business, but we're not taught what it means to own your intellectual property and what it means, to have a scalable company. And if you want to sell your company, or if you want to pass your company down, but what all of those things mean and what they look like. And so we do this by partnering with other Black owned organizations and Black owned companies, down to lawyers, realtors, other consultants. We're very open to working with them. And we're very intentional about our ask. And I would say that when we ask, we're asking that we be let into those conversations and let into those rooms, right? And it's not just about having a handout. It's no, we want to be a part of changing the ecosystem and changing the direction of, the community, and changing the direction of business, and showing that, Black and brown people can be in STEM and can be in tech. And that's super important right now as we look at the digital world, as we look at post-COVID and where we're going continuously. And so say all that to say, we focus on leadership, reconciliation, community, growth, and capital. And we do that strategically through our partnerships and through our programs, and implementing efficient systems in companies.
Thank you, Vincent, for your answer. So I guess a lot of the attendees must be shy of just really taking everything in, because you guys are really just providing all of the answers. So with that said, any closing statements that Dr. Whitehead, you'll go first, and then Winston, you'll go after, and then we'll be able to just close the event out. Any last statements, Dr. Whitehead?
Sure. Thank you so much. Again, I just want to thank you for including me in this conversation. This has been very enlightening for me. And thank you for the opportunity to talk about Medgar Evers College and our Brooklyn Recovery Corps. And I do want to mention that one of our interns is assisting you tonight, Amanda. And so that's really great. And I also want to mention that this work is not mine solely. My partner, my co-lead in this work is Mr. Peter Holloman, who has been at Medgar Evers College for a very long time. He's a senior director at the college, as well as Nicolette Boucher, who is our program coordinator. They're the ones that keep me straight, right? So just want to thank that. And also just want to thank the other panelists for the information that they shared, especially Winston, because I will be calling on you, because in addition to affording opportunities for our students, we also want to provide some opportunities for our small businesses and nonprofit organizations because they are at various stages of development. So I'm quite sure they can benefit from the services that your company offers and the experiences that you have to share. So thank you for that. And I know Stephanie had to leave, but as I mentioned, we're also partnered with Together We Thrive. And so this is really about making connections and building relationships because we're all trying to achieve the same goal, which is to really help to build economic prosperity among our community. And that's really important for us at Medgar Evers Students to not only provide students with educational training, but also to help them with their social mobility and to be able to achieve their life goals. So thank you so much.
Winston?
Thank you, Dr. Whitehead. I appreciate that as well. And so I would like to close and say, thank you first and foremost for allowing me to be here. Thank you, Kelly, because Kelly has been a pillar in the community as well, very modest, but he's very much so the connector and the connecting factor, and his drive and energy to run All Access Golf is unmatched, really. And I really admire that, and I admire his willingness to help others when they are not introduced to the game. And, he makes you feel at home when you're entering the sport, right? And so now I'm going on 3 years because of Kelly, right? And so I feel like I really do have a very high level understanding of the game from players like Cameron Champ, Harold Varner III, Eastside Golf. I've been exposed to another side of the world in terms of the golf world and the golf industry. And so I thank Kelly for that, first and foremost. And so I'd like to say, for my company, Trade Brickstone LLC, that we're a consulting and continuity management company. And so with that, we like to focus on other businesses and a business-to-business transaction, as well as uplifting, the youth as well. We work with, SYEP as well, and try to have intern for our companies. And so I just liked people to leave with this and knowing that no matter what stage you are in business, echoing what Dr. Whitehead said, no matter what stage you are in business, it's never too late or too early for you to start and build a community and build, an alliance of people that will vouch for you and that will speak on your behalf when you're not in the room or on the course. So I think that that's super important. And I think that as we continue to grow as an ecosystem and as a collective, that we grow with community and compassion and grace. And so I look forward to doing business, of course, with everyone here, with Stephanie as well. And I thank her for her presence. And I just want to continue to build and break through these barriers.
Well, thank you. Thank you again for just taking the time out to, just offer the insight that you have, that both of you have, as well as Stephanie, who had to leave early. Thank you also to Amanda, who's behind the scenes and working on things. So as well as the other BRC intern, who had class tonight, Asada. Thank you everyone for just coming out, and we'll send a follow-up email. This will eventually be up on our YouTube channel. So, and we'll also provide the contact information within the description on the YouTube channel so that you can watch it, you can share it, and really get the word out, sign the petitions, and, help to, really make, Black capital much stronger. So that said, thank you everyone, and have a good night.